Hey, wonderful people. It's me, Jason. I am thankful for today. I just want to take a moment to share with you about our alignment and functioning and living life from the awareness of our I am identity. You say, well, what's an I am identity? I am, of course, as you know, is the realization of the awareness of being. It's you understanding and recognizing that you're a living, functioning, thriving being. And yet we sometimes don't realize or recognize that the very fact that we can be aware of existence is proof that there is something greater than our physical self that is perceiving life through us. And in our beginning to merge with an awareness of this being that's perceiving through us, we begin to realize we are not limited to flesh and blood. We're not limited to the physicality only, but we are spirit. And I am is the name of God as revealed in the Old Testament, specifically in the story of Moses as he's preparing to embark on this mission of delivering the slaves that are in Egypt, the Israelite people that have become slaves in Egypt. And he encounters God in this burning bush, and in this burning bush that is on fire, but literally not being consumed by this flame. There's a voice that comes out of the flame and it says, I am that I am. I have sent you. I am who I am. I am who I will be. And Moses had asked the question, who shall I say has sent me? I'm going in to do this mission, this work that's before me to do. What are these people going to say? How am I, just a mere man, going to be able to accomplish this major feat of bringing people into a place of transformation? And that's what the story is. It's the story of transformation. It's the story of you and me. It's the story of exiting one state of being and moving into another. It's the story of you and I. It's the story of how we manifest. It's the story of how we become. And so any way in which we manifest and grow and become is related to this story of Moses' empowerment of causing the people that were in bondage in Egypt to exit Egypt and to go into their new land. But how many know anytime we're trying to bring forth greater good, anytime we're trying to move into that space of bringing forth the truest essence of who we are, we have to go through challenges and obstacles. They experienced many external challenges and obstacles, but I declare and want to pull into our awareness right now is the reason why that symbolic story for the consciousness of humanity is so pertinent for you and I right now, is because when we experience challenges and obstacles, we don't move through those challenges in human flesh alone. We understand the root of our being, and the root of our being is I am. What was that revelation? I am that I am. I am the presence of God, the awareness of being. The root of your being is the realization that causes you to transcend conditions, that causes you to transcend circumstances. So therefore, that which you might feel confined by can never be the truth of your being, because the truth of your being transcends conditions. The truth of your being transcends trials. And so understanding and recognizing that you and I are connected to a greater whole. And we access that greater whole when we begin to realize this important thing. The lives we live come out of the realm of consciousness. We are consciousness carriers. And in order to intentionally create circumstances that surround us, that we find ourselves in order to do this intentionally and not just left up to happenstance all the time in life, in order to intentionally do this, we must learn how to incubate our consciousness in the realm of heavenly good. In other words, allowing the realm of well-being, allowing the realm of God's wholeness to merge with us, because it's the truth of our being. But the only reason why we sometimes don't merge with it as easily is because we have set up understandings of resistance, which really isn't truly understanding. It's misunderstanding. It's misunderstanding of the truth of our being. And when we can function from our I am, in other words, when you identify God as love, and then you understand that you are a part of the I am, and you begin to see yourself as a being of love, what that does is it opens up the passageway for anything that you've called for to come to you. What? Love has this way. It's like an oil. It's like oil. You know when you take your car to the car shop and you've got to get your oil changed? And what does that oil do? It lubricates the engines, right? That oil lubricates the engine so that it functions beautifully and it flows well. Well, your awareness of love being the core essence of your being, and you identifying God as love, and then you saying, I am love, and you feeling the reality of giving love and appreciation, which is a part of that whole love vibe. To give appreciation, to give thanksgiving, gratitude, that's a part of that love vibe. Appreciation, gratitude, love, to see yourself as the embodiment of that and to give it in small things, right? Like the fact that you could take a deep breath in, to appreciate that, right? To appreciate the fact that you could wake up this morning, to appreciate the fact that you have expressions of love in your life, to appreciate the fact that you've got good food that you can taste, to appreciate the fact that you've got water that you can drink, that you can be hydrated, to appreciate the fact that you're not where you used to be, and that there is this aspect, this realization of becoming that's in your awareness, right? All of this helps us to function from the center of the I am. Anything that takes you to appreciation, anything that takes you to gratitude, anything that takes you to the centering of realizing that you and I are connected to something greater than our physicality. It's spirit, it's consciousness, it's I am, it's God. And when we can realize and recognize that our simple awareness of being connects us to everything that we need when we need it, because really the truth of the matter, and I love the fact that Neville Goddard's book speaks to this, the truth of the matter is that you and I are connected. And as the infamous Reverend Ike used to say, I meet no one but me. So when we experience people or situations that produce the opposite of love as a reaction in us, we should ask ourselves, what aspect of myself, what aspect of myself do I need to come to grips with? What aspect of myself do I need to face? And can I pour love over it? That's something that life is beginning to show me is a very powerful thing for us to do. Anytime we experience things in others or in situations that cause us to experience the opposite of love, it's a chance for us to say, how can I face some aspect of myself and baptize it in love and find ways to appreciate and find ways to be thankful? There's always things that you can nitpick and complain about, but then that takes us out of functioning from our truest I am. And so I just want this to encourage you today. I want to talk about this one principle, which you'll find in the first chapter of this, Awakened Imagination by Neville Goddard. And this is the main idea. The main idea is this. The moment humans, he says man, but I like to be inclusive. The moment humans discover that imagination is Christ, they accomplish acts which on this level can only be called miraculous. But until man has the sense of Christ as his imagination, quote, John 15:16, you did not choose me, I have chosen you, he will see everything in pure objectivity without any subjective relationship. What is he saying here? He's saying that when we see life with a subjective relationship, that's weaving these events and circumstances together, which exists in latent consciousness, which is a function of your own heart and mind, and that your ideas and your feelings impress modifications on your consciousness, impress modifications on consciousness as a whole, and that we all move in this infinite ocean of consciousness, and that consciousness is God, and that consciousness is the one and only reality, as Neville would say. And when we realize that there's a subjective relationship to every occurrence and every expression of life that we find ourselves in and find ourselves around, when we can live life understanding there is a subjective relationship in our thought and feeling nature connected to the events that we experience, then we can begin to awaken to the function of the I am Christ reality in us. Why else would I be motivated and inspired to lean into love in spite of the temptation to lean into the opposite if I didn't know that there was a subjective relationship for every experience and event that occurs in my life? So therefore, it's my responsibility, right, to cultivate this realm within myself. I want to read this. Not realizing that all that he encounters is part of himself, or all that they encounter is a part of themselves, to be inclusive, they rebel at the thought that they have chosen the conditions of their life, that they are related by affinity to their own mental activity. Woo! Now that can step on some of our toes, but if we are to awaken to a greater realm we must recognize the mental and the spiritual activity that goes on within ourselves and decide to say, I can lean into greater wellness, greater wholeness, greater love, greater well-being, in spite of the opposite that I might be tempted to feel or to do or to say or to speak. Because our words, this is another thing, our words have a way, even our subjective words, the words we don't say out loud, but our inner conversations, that's a part of the mental activity. Our words have a way of leading us on the path of consciousness that creates the environment of what we're going to bring forth, or what we're going to merge with, or what we're perceiving that is occurring. So today, be reminded that you have a strong hold in life where you can function from your I am. You can function from the identity that you are connected with all that is. And your ability to select an idea or a mood or an intention, and then to incubate that feeling and incubate that mood, that idea, or that intention over and over within yourself, realizing that you're a consciousness carrier, is a powerful force in the world that shifts your life and makes the world a better place. Sometimes we don't always know the reasons as to why things happen, but oftentimes it was Neville who quoted someone that said, we don't know if it was someone's mother while darning their socks who began that subtle change in men's minds. In other words, what they're saying is sometimes the things or the events that happen in life can be related to an impression that was heavily placed on people even before they realized that they were being born into this mental atmosphere. Families have mental atmospheres. Cities, towns have mental atmospheres. Nations have mental atmospheres, right? People have mental atmospheres. And sometimes we adopt our mental atmospheres based upon how we've just been born into an environment, or how we've been introduced into an environment, or we have an affinity towards an environment. And so these become our dominant mental atmospheres. Sometimes our mental atmospheres are innate, right? Some kind of biological leaning, right? That impacts the body, mind, environment. But how many know that an awakening to the truth of your being, to the truth that you are connected to all that is, that God is all that is, and that you are connected to God, and the awakening, the truest awakening of Christ in you, the hope of glory, as that scripture says, is recognizing that Christ in us is our awakened imagination, the imagination that acts with a purpose, that acts lovingly on behalf of others, and that shows up in the world in actions that support the imaginal activity. So go forth today functioning from your I am. Remember, I am love. You are peace, you are wholeness. Root yourself in that reality, recognizing that that idea, that mood goes forth into the universe around you and connects you with all that is. When you can function from your root, remind yourself to function from that root of being, of your I am, then the ups and downs of life on the outside won't have the final say, and then things will begin to move or flow in the direction of your dominant I am. Much love to all of you, and I'm so glad that you were able to listen to this today. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.